All right, let's journey back in time. We're talking nearly 5,000 years to uncover a lost superpower. I mean, their name was whispered in the courts of Mesopotamian kings, but somehow, history just kind of forgot them. Today, we're diving into the story of Meluhha.
So our whole story kicks off with a boast. And this isn't just any boast, it was literally carved in stone by Sumerian kings. Ships from Meluhha dock at our harbors. Now you gotta understand, this was way more than just a shipping manifest. This was a statement, a flex. It showed their connection to this faraway, almost mythical land.
And right there, that's the big question, isn't it? Just who were the Meluhhans? Who were these people that had the mighty Mesopotamians, the cradle of civilization, so impressed?
Well, today, scholars are pretty sure that Meluhha was what we now call the Indus Valley Civilization. And the name, Meluhha, it probably meant something like high country. Which makes sense, you know, a land of huge rivers, big mountains, a place that was about to produce something absolutely revolutionary.
Because, see, from this land, the Meluhhans did what many thought was impossible. We're not talking about just paddling along the coast. No, these guys were masters of the open ocean. They figured out how to harness the monsoon winds and sail across the treacherous Arabian Sea. For the Bronze Age, this was like space travel, seriously cutting-edge stuff.
So you have to ask, what was on those ships? What were they risking it all for, sailing across these huge, dangerous waters? What made them so special? Okay, this is where the story gets really good.
Just look at the difference here. You've got Mesopotamia, right? A total powerhouse, and what are they exporting? Necessities. Grain, wool, you know, the stuff you need to survive. But Meluhha? Oh no. They were in a completely different business. They were in the luxury game. They sold the things that screamed, I'm rich and important.
And their star product? The etched carnelian bead. Now, don't just picture some pretty rock. These things were masterpieces. A deep, rich crimson color and drilled with a precision that was, well, almost microscopic. Get this, modern craftsmen have a hard time replicating these beads, even with power tools. Owning one of these back then, that was like owning a Bugatti today. It was the ultimate status.
And they weren't a one-hit wonder, either. They also dominated the trade in lapis lazuli, the blue gold of the ancient world. Now, they didn't actually mine this stuff, but their workshops were where it all happened. They cut it, polished it, and sent it out, making them the go-to source for the most prized color on the planet.
So, here's the bottom line. Meluhha wasn't just some other country you could trade with. They were essential. With their incredible skills and unique resources, they became, for all intents and purposes, the workshop of the East.
Okay, but here's where it gets weird. When archaeologists started digging up the cities of this economic juggernaut, they found, well, a huge puzzle, a paradox that really makes you question everything you thought you knew about how ancient societies worked.
I mean, think about it. A society this wealthy, you'd expect to find some serious bling, right? You'd be looking for giant palaces for all-powerful kings, massive temples for their gods. But that's not what they found. Not even close.
And this is the paradox in a nutshell. All the stuff you expect from a Bronze Age kingdom, gone. No giant palaces, no huge monuments to kings. What did they find instead? A civilization obsessed with plumbing and standardized bricks and massive public baths. It seems like this whole society was built not for the glory of a few rulers, but for the good of everyone. It's like their entire society ran on systems, not on the whims of powerful people. They had their own writing system, which we still can't read, by the way, and it often had this strange unicorn symbol on their official seals. And their obsession with standardization? It's just mind-blowing. They had a system of weights that was so precise, it stayed exactly the same across a massive area for hundreds of years. This was a culture built on order, cleanliness, and just getting things done efficiently.
And this whole relationship, it wasn't just about shipping boxes back and forth. It was about people. The Meluhhans didn't just sell stuff to Mesopotamia. They actually moved in. They set up whole communities there. And we know this directly from Mesopotamia records. We have cuneiform tablets that literally mention a Meluhha village. Archaeologists have found their distinctive seals in Mesopotamian cities. And what's really amazing, they're records that talk about hiring official interpreters because they needed people who could speak the Meluhhan language fluently.
So what does that tell you? These weren't just sailors stopping by for a visit. This was a full-on diaspora. We're talking about craftsmen, diplomats, technical experts, living abroad, raising families for generations. And all the while they kept their unique culture and their incredible skills.
And then, silence. After centuries of this amazing back and forth, this deep connection, it just stops. The records go quiet, the ships from Meluhha just stop coming.
Right around 1800 BCE, the name Meluhha basically vanishes from the Mesopotamian records. It's so sudden and so strange. What on earth could silence an entire civilization like that?
Well, it looks like the answer wasn't an invading army. It was water. Or the lack of it. This timeline really lays it all out. It was like a domino effect. The rivers that were their lifeblood started to change course. The massive Saraswati River actually dried up completely. That led to a total collapse of their farming. And without that foundation, their whole amazing system of production just fell apart. The cities, they were just abandoned.
But here's the really important part. Meluhha didn't just disappear. Not really. The state, the cities, yeah, that all collapsed. But its cultural DNA, that lived on. Their obsession with precision, their traditions of cleanliness, their incredible knowledge of the sea, all those ideas got passed down. They ended up shaping the new civilizations that came after them all across the Indian subcontinent.
Which brings us to the final, really big question. If they were this advanced, this influential, why do we forget them? Why do we all know the names of Mesopotamian kings, but Meluhha is a mystery?
And maybe this is the answer. History has a short memory, and it loves big personalities. It remembers kings. It remembers giant monuments built to make one person look good. The Meluhhans, they didn't leave any of that. They left something way more subtle, but you could argue, way more important. They left systems that actually worked. For everybody.
Think about it. They were a civilization built on order, not on ego. And because of that, their story wasn't chiseled into some massive statue. It was just lived. And maybe that's why its silence still echoes across the ancient sea, leaving us with one of history's greatest puzzles.